Welcome to the Trend Detection Podcast, powered by Siemens. And now your host, Niall Sullivan.
No, of course. I just thought with those events, like the event you described, maybe there was, more. I mean, from my experience, I've interviewed. I know Siemens has a very close relationship with Make UK as well, and I've interviewed over the past couple of years. We sort of do roundups of the year in manufacturing and a look ahead kind of thing, and it's still it's a common and unsurprising what you were saying. It's still a common topic and thread that comes up every year. More diversity. How do we encourage people into that environments? But I guess it's people like you driving the way that's going to solve that ultimately, isn't it? Yeah, because you're making some great inroads there, if I don't mind saying.
Thanks. I think the stats were, well, certainly for 2022, 26% of women, in manufacturing, 26% of the workforce are female. There's 11% that come from a non-white background, and only 1% with disabilities. And you think, like, you hear that and you think, oh, that's really bad, isn't it? Like, the fact that we're just missing out on a huge amount of talent, in one way or another, aren't we? So there's still huge opportunity to take advantage of those skills, and that you get those you get those different views, you get those different life experiences and different ways of thinking that will ultimately, I'll say it again, make us more sustainable over the long term. So, yeah.
Back to that word again.
It's true, it's not, but that's where it's not even talking about energy again. It's making sure that we're a sustainable business, long-term thinking, not short-term.
Yeah, but like I said, I know we talked a lot Siemens specifics, but there's a lot I guess other companies can learn from that. And that's almost the overarching theme of the episode. It's like think beyond, the common, for even in my head before this interview, what sustainability is. There's a lot more you could do as a business, which I think is quite a nice thought. But and actually speaking of that, what more we can learn, I wanted to sort of move into our the final segment, I guess, and focus on your work at Congleton, which you've touched around some quite interesting initiatives, but whether we can dive into some of those or particular use cases yourself, which you think have really, fit in with what we've discussed in this episode, I guess, today. There's a few examples.
I mean, I think one, it's having a good base of like lean manufacturing first and foremost. Like, I think you need a foundation that's built on so if you were to think of your own operations, I think first and foremost you need a foundation where the culture is one, and where you're constantly looking at continuous improvement and reducing waste and increasing your value add and reducing your non-value add. So I think like that needs to be a foundation, and then from there, then it's like, right, you process, once you've leaned your processes and you've optimized them, and that they're working in the right way, and that the value add content is the most, obviously is the biggest piece of that. Well, it won't be, the non-value add generally will be, but then it's saying, right, what are the opportunities around digitalization and automation? So for us, like, we started on that journey in Congleton probably 2020, maybe probably 2015-ish, or maybe slightly before, where we've got a really good history of lean continuous improvement, based on back in the day of total of TQM, total quality management, but we were good at making those continuous small steps, but what we said was, well, how are we going to make those bigger steps of productivity? At the time, we had quite a flat order intake, and we didn't have a lot of new products coming through. So when you've got that combination, there's only, you can keep obviously doing the continuous improvement, but if you've got a flat order intake and you've not got new products, then it's going to get harder and harder. So we started looking. We took people out of the day-to-day business, and we said, right, what is it that we don't know? And that's where we started to focus on automation, robotics, additive manufacturing, and then on the digitalization side, all around the software suite. So, again, we weren't using discrete event simulation, we weren't using ergonomic tools like Jack. We weren't really using any 3D layout information. We certainly wasn't doing anything virtually. We were doing it all, you implement changes live. So I think that set us on a good path for our strategy for 2020, which was all around, a step improvement in productivity. And, as a result of that helps you do those steps to get you're talking like 7% productivity on your overheads. It's quite a tough ask. So, and that's what we need to keep doing if we're going to remain competitive. And that's where I think there's an opportunity in all manufacturers to use digitalization, automation, robotics, etc., whatever it is, to enable you to be even more productive than you are with just having the continuous small improvement steps, which are definitely necessary as well. So I think it's making use of new technology to optimize lines. One example, in our surface mount area in Congleton, we reduced the number of lines from 5 down to 4 through the introduction of new technology, optimization of the placement of the products, of the components on the boards, which enabled us to say, well, we don't need this line anymore, we're going to close that down, and that had a big impact on the amount of energy that we were using in that case. I mean, there's also the productivity. We were able to redeploy people to other areas then to work on other value add topics, because we're able to do more with less people ultimately. I think it's a combination of digital tools to identify productivity, to identify, to also enable you to implement the productivity quicker. But then it's coupled with the hardware, obviously, the automation products, the automation of processes, that again enable you to be more productive, to redeploy people, that ultimately you're more competitive, so you can get new portfolio elements then to be redirected into the factory, which enables then to redeploy those people on that new portfolio. So you're doing more with the same amount of people, or you're doing more with less resources overall, which ultimately, you're losing. It's the same as we said before. You're not having to spend money on additional equipment because you're optimizing what you have. You're using less energy, etc., etc. It can only be a good basis for maintaining your our competitiveness in the network, but obviously against our competitors as well. And
I was going to, because I mean, all that's so impressive. It's almost like a culture, or whether it's culture or mindset of like continuous improvement, isn't it? Really, that you've got there clearly, because it's what we were saying before about the culture of Siemens, let's say, to continually grow and improve and that kind of thing. So it's sort of a great example of that, really.
I think it is a good culture in Congleton. I think it's a good culture in Siemens, to be honest. And when you see I hear other people talking in different companies about, and they get stuck down in blaming people and blaming each other, and then you just don't move forward because everyone's so busy like worrying about covering themselves. And that's where I'm on about, creating a place of work that's safe, that I've been in meetings before and people are trying to figure out who did what, and we need to get to the root cause. I'm all in for, we need to get to the root cause of something, but a lot of the times I'll be like, it's my fault. Let's blame me and put my name down and let's move on, because this isn't adding any value to any of us. And don't get me wrong, if someone's done something and they need training or whatever, ultimately we should be supporting people first and foremost, and identifying where there's been a failure either of a process or a person, and then supporting them. But if you get into this whole blame culture, you just don't end up moving. If you've got one of your colleagues that you're worried about because you think that they're going to stab you in the back, well, we don't want people doing that, because we want people focused on doing the right thing for our customers and making sure that we're ahead of our competition. and that we've got a good strategy and that we're following that strategy, not that we're worried about colleagues around us that, or other departments that are going to try and blame us for something, because that's not going to move Siemens on, and it's just going to waste everybody's time. So I don't know, how did we get onto that then? Sorry, I went off.
Well, no, it's all right. We might.
You asked, yeah.
We'll have to do some light editing maybe, but but that's fine. That's absolutely fine. But I guess what you're saying as well, it's got to work across sort of departments as well. Everyone's got to be on the same page. Like I say, it's easy. I mean, you could talk. For me, from a marketing perspective, it's like, oh, sales did this, or and that's the traditional thing. But for a manufacturing environment, I guess it's even more imperative that everyone's sort of pulling together, and exactly what you were just saying then.
Yeah, and in Congleton, it was quite a nice. Everyone was focused on getting stuff out the door. Ultimately, we're a manufacturing facility. If we're not shipping stuff out the door, then we're not making money, and we're not. Do you know what I mean? We're not. Ultimately, that's what we're about. We need to make sure, and everybody knew that. Everybody knew that production and manufacturing was number one, and that's what we're all there to support in. All the various forms, and ultimately, the person that's adding most value are the people on the shop floor that are actually touching the product. The rest of us, and I always used to say, I am not adding value. Technically, from a lean point of view, I'm non-value add. It might be non-value add necessary. I would like to argue, but ultimately, it's people touching the product that are adding the value. So we need to make sure that all of the support is there to enable that in the most efficient way. That we're deploying our capital in the best way to make us as competitive as we can be and productive over the long term. Yeah, because we want there to be a manufacturing facility in Congleton for generations to come. That was our tagline. We got our management team at the time. We said, well, what is our purpose? And where we got to was that we answer the challenges that others can't, and we want to do that for generations to come. We want to harness the power of the culture and the people and the generations of people that work there, to make sure that we're going to be there over the long term. We're going to be sustainable business.
No, exactly. And it sounds like there's lots for I say our audience. If there's people from manufacturers in the listening to this can learn. I mean, as we sort of come to a bit of a close, I guess, because I know we're both we've got to jump to a next meeting. So, what would your sort of tips be, based on your experience, obviously in Congleton and in Siemens as a whole, and in your current role, I guess, as well, for manufacturers? So, to implement some of these changes, and it's quite a wide-ranging question. So, feel free to focus on areas that you wish, but it might be interesting, a few takeaways for people as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to know where you are now. So what is your current state? Do you have a vision of where you want to be? And it might be from different parts of that sustainability, just the ones that we've spoken about today. If you said social, environmental and economic, that you set a target against each of those. And, so where are you now? Where do you want to be? And putting a plan together to engage with other manufacturers like ourselves to benchmark and understand how others have done it, engaging with companies such as Made Smarter, which is a government group that's been put together to support companies on their digitalization journey, which ultimately results in a more sustainable business. And Make UK as another example. They've got a lot of resource there. I know you've mentioned them already. So where are you now? Where do you want to be? Put a strategy together, or at least a North Star. Like where do you see your company in the next 5 years? Like what does it look like across a number of different areas, maybe, and get help. Go and speak to other manufacturers like us. Go and speak to trade organisations like Make UK. And government support that's out there from Innovate UK or the Catapult Centres or Made Smarter, that will help you go on that journey, because there is a lot of help out there, a lot of support, and I think you just need to ask for it and go out there and benchmark with others and find out what they've done. People are more than welcome to get in touch and have a visit to Siemens Congleton and find out what we've done in a bit more detail. I know that the factory is really keen on, and I've been sharing the story. We've touched on some of those points today, but yeah, go out there and find other people that have also done it, so you can learn from their mistakes.
Well, I'm quite keen to visit Congleton as well, so I might have
Yay!
myself to. I've
Yeah, we'll have
heard
to
lots of
get
good
Team
things.
Senseye up.
No, exactly. I love that. So yeah, no, some really good takeaways there. Like I said, I knew it wouldn't be a one word answer. This will solve
Yeah,
all of
just
your.
one thing.
And just on the technology side as well, because the thing is, as a marketing person, I'm probably involved in this, but there's a lot of noise around. This can help with sustainability. This can help with sustainability. So, in terms of sort of assessing, and we talked about focusing on the business outcome you want first, and maybe that's part of what you were saying before. But in terms of selecting the right technologies for your, to help towards sustainability, what would you sort of focus on, or encourage people to focus on first?
I mean, yeah, like you say, ultimately you need to make a decision that's best for your business. And I think going to like agnostic support areas, like the catapult centres, like Made Smarter, they will be able to advise. They've got different advice in terms of processes that certainly like SMEs should follow in the case of Made Smarter, that will enable them to, obviously, I could definitely say pick Siemens because I know that we're a fantastic company, but ultimately it depends on the situation. It depends on what the challenge is. You don't want to over engineer something. So yeah, I would definitely get advice from agnostic government support, such as Made Smarter, such as the catapult centres. And again, I guess is find out what other people have done. If other companies that have got similar challenges to you, find out. Like, there's no harm in asking for support and asking, if they can share their experiences in the same way that we have done. But yeah, that's what I would say. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah, and actually, every time I always think of a final question, but the final question is actually, because it's interesting, because obviously I know there's other Siemens plants globally. Is there knowledge sharing between all of you guys as well?
Yeah, definitely. So we have networks within the manufacturing in Siemens, certainly in Digital Industries. So the business unit that I'm in is motion control, and we have a factory in Germany, in Erlangen, and a factory in China, and Congleton as well. So there's 3 factories within the network. That there's constant best practice sharing. We do projects where we analyse the processes for similar products that are manufactured across sites to make sure that anything that's can be implemented and shared. We'll share programs. Anything where we're making a similar product, if we can share, then we will share. So yeah, absolutely. There's no point reinventing the wheel, is there? You might as well. We say pinch with pride, but it's not really pinching because it's internal.
but
yeah,
no, exactly. And I think Casper, they could take that away and say, because they are plants all over the world, and again, it's about joining some of that up and sharing learnings with each other. So the same principle applies as well. And I've been to the Erlangen site actually. It's one place I've been, and that was quite nice.
Have you been in the new Impact Centre? I haven't had a chance to go, but
no, that. No,
they've got a new digitalisation centre that's opened. I think it only opened this year. So, but yeah, next time you go,
yeah,
the Impact Centre, and then there's the Impulse Centre, which is in Hamburg as part of factory automation products. So yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Both supposed to be very good.
Yeah, I have to plan my trip back, but and to Congleton, of course. So I'll reach out. I'll reach out ASAP to arrange that. But no, I think besides that, I think that we've had a great conversation, wide ranging. I didn't expect to talk about Stephen Bartlett, but I'm sure he's delighted. He's got a shout out. I think he needs the publicity.
That's it.
Maybe, but no, it's been a real pleasure to talk to you, Sarah. I've been wanting to invite you on for quite a while after we met. It was Smart Factory Expo, wasn't it?
It was back in June. So
yeah, when it was sunny and not so dark. Like it is
not
now.
like today. Yeah.
But no, it's been great to chat. Thank you again for your time. And I guess thank you everyone for listening. But actually, one more thing before we go, and I like doing this. So Sarah, or if you're okay with it, Sarah, I'm going to add the link to your LinkedIn page, because that's probably so people can connect, ask questions, follow you, your various activities. You're everywhere, it seems, which is great. But so they can. It's really interesting. It's really interesting what you're doing and what you're sharing. So I'll definitely encourage that for everyone. But now I'm going to say a final goodbye. Once again. Thank you, everyone, and thank you to Sarah again.
Please like and subscribe on all major podcast channels and find out more about Senseye Predictive Maintenance at Siemens.com.